Hello Woolly Thistlers, it's Rachel from Barkland Croft here in Fair Isle, and it's lovely to be back with you. You may know that in September I was away on my research trip, travelling throughout Scotland and England and looking at items of Fair Isle knitwear held in museums and collections, and what a super time I had. Here's just a taste of some of the many things I was able to look at. And although not everything was from Fair Isle, it was super to find quite a lot of examples that did have the Fair Isle label in them. And a real treat was when I was in Shetland on my last day at the museum and archives there, I met Karina Olsen, who you may know who wrote this book. I visited the BBC Scotland props and costume department. No Fair Isle, but fantastic licorice allsort and pussycat jumpers. For I think the first time ever I got to sail past Fair Isle in daylight, and after another ferry we got over to North Uist where I was taking my fleeces to the mill. So they're now there ready to be spun into next year's wool, which I'm really excited about. As well as research, I crammed so much into my trip. Ruthven Barracks, walks alongside Loch Lomond, a sundress in Edinburgh because it was so warm, Ruffalo relaxing, Nieva enjoying herself. We rode a steam train, Nieva explored castles, she met the Gruffalo, we went on canal walks and made it as far as the south coast of England. We saw the Seven Sisters. Here's a bit of a better photo of them. This is Boxgrove Church, which has a lovely stained glass memorial to Billy Fisk, who was the first American to be killed in World War II. And it's really lovely to see that his grave is still remembered. One morning we did a 5-mile walk before breakfast, which took us through this beautiful hollow way and all the way up to Hanukkah Windmill. We visited Dartmoor, where the ponies and cows roam freely. We climbed up Tors, spotted a lizard, and Nieva investigated this clapper bridge. There were more sundresses and picnics. I visited the German military cemetery and found the grave of 2 of the aircrew who'd been shot down here in World War II in Fair Isle. They'd been buried here and then were later reburied in this cemetery, so I took them a little sprig of heather wrapped up in some of my sheep's wool. I visited York, where the Minster bells were in full peal. And walked down the famous Shambles and Whipma Wopma Gate. I visited Sewerby Park to see the lion, which was always a treat when I was growing up. Nieva and I took another little land train journey into Bridlington to see the Gansey girl and admire her knitting. I enjoyed a very wet and foggy, although rather atmospheric, walk around Whitby Abbey. And then up to Orkney to see Skara Brae. We had fantastic weather and Nieva absolutely loved it up there. She definitely tired herself out running round the beach. Ruffalo, meanwhile, rolled around in the car park. We visited the beautiful Italian chapel, which was created by Italian prisoners of war in World War II. The Ring of Brodgar, Stones of Stennis, Midhowbrook, and several cairns that you had to climb down into to explore, which was a bit creepy. The very last day of our trip, we explored St Magnus Cathedral in Orkney and found this lovely ram carving. And I'm not really sure what this is, but very suitable for Halloween. We arrived back in Shetland, and let's just say the weather wasn't quite so summery. It was lovely to meet Sandy's two lambs, and they were very interested in Nieva, who I think they thought was another lamb, until they realised she wasn't. And it was really back down to earth with a bang after our wonderful trip when all the rain and gales started. And you can just see here the extent of the flooding that we had one day. Thankfully everyone was fine, there wasn't any real damage done, the sheep were fine, but after a month of pretty much good weather all the time, summer dresses, heat, coming back to this was a bit of a shock to the system, as you can imagine. I had sheep trapped in one field. And you can just see everywhere it was just absolutely waterlogged. I've never ever seen Gillyburn so full or flowing so quickly. That's the over the vehicle bridge up to the top park. Can't quite see, but I've got some sheep stranded up there because there's no way for them to get back over the burn. It's too wide for them to jump. And that's normally, well, it's underwater so you can't see it, but that's normally where I walk across and the sheep walk across if they're not jumping. Just water, water everywhere. Then we were in for a real treat as the winds were forecast up to 110 miles an hour. But a couple of days later we were back to this. I enjoyed catching up on the Woolly Thistle podcasts and have started a new knitting project. And here we are on Halloween. Although I have to say I think the scariest thing is probably my face as I went out this morning to check the sheep in rain and gales. And I'll leave you with Nieva wishing you all a very happy Halloween, and we'll see you again soon.